guys so much for being here. I'm doing a TED Talk. I have to remind myself so I don't swear. Got to keep it classy, right? The funny thing is that I was supposed to give this joy-themed TED Talk back in 2020. And I don't know if you guys remember, 2020, not a good year for joy. So I thought I was going to talk about the joy drought. And it made so much sense. We were so unhappy. And I just thought, comedians are going to be like first responders on the front lines of the joy drought, fighting to keep our happiness alive. I had pages of things planned for you guys, notes and pictures and charts, because it's a TED Talk. We all need a chart. We need graphs and things like that. And 2 days ago, I started working on this with a friend, talking, and then I had a revelation. And then I cried for 2 straight days. Because I realized that, 70% I realized this revelation was so new, and the other 30% was that I realized I was going to have to rewrite my TED Talk in 2 days. And that's terrifying. But here we are, And I thought, let's go for it, because I'm an emotional cutter. I'm a daredevil. I'm a comedian. So I took 12 pages of notes and I threw them all away, and this is my TED Talk. And frankly, I'm starting to sweat. So my TED Talk could disappear really fast. Are you guys ready for a ride with me? I don't know where this is going to take me, but you're coming along whether you like it or not, kids. So I'm a comedian, in case you haven't figured that out by now. And I was really born to be a comedian. I think you have it in you. I think it's like a pre-existing condition, like epilepsy, And I think you're drawn to the work. I think it's like a life of religion, it's a vocation. It's, it's something you can't explain. It's something you're called to do, like a life of public service, or liking Pete Davidson. Like, it doesn't have to make sense to everybody. You just know you do. And I knew I was funny when I was 6 years old, and I went to a Kmart with my parents. And I know, stop bragging. And I walked in, and they were selling portable tiki bars. And I walked up behind it, 6 years old, and prompted by nothing, I slammed my hand down and went, "Belly up to the bar!" And everyone laughed. And no one called Child Protective Services on my parents. And no one brought me to therapy. Weren't the 80s great? But I was hooked to that feeling, that thing that you could just say something and then a room full of strangers would start to laugh. And so I've been pursuing that ever since. And at a certain point, the act of joy making becomes a business, like everything. That's why it's called show business. And you can get really caught up in the business of the business, the survival of it. When you decide to make that thing that you are passionate about, your career, your livelihood, the thing that brings you money. And whoever said, "Oh, follow your passion, you'll never work a day in your life," is full of crap. They are. Follow your passion and you will work harder than you ever thought you would every day of your life. Just by a show of hands, how many people as a career do what they're passionate about for a living? What do you do? Nurse practitioner's like, "Oh, good. I'll take your card after this." She's a psychologist, guys. Get on it. And you followed that because you were passionate about helping people, figuring out what's going on in their lives, right? But at a certain point, doesn't it become a bit of a grind? There's moments, no? Oh my God, who are you? You're a saint. Well, she's a bad example. Next, who follows their passion? Right over here.
I'm a licensed clinical social worker.
Clinical social worker. Wow, you guys are doing pretty intense work. I tell fart jokes for a living, but I'm very proud about it. What do you do over there? You're a porn star? Oh my God, I got so excited! How dare you walk into a TED Talk and scream porn star and then say, JK! LOL! Look, you gotta be passionate about that work, but it's a grind. That's a grind too. Literally. Making my parents so proud today, aren't I? But you know, especially in show business and particularly in the comedy world, you are the engine that propels your train 24/7. And, you know, if you're lucky and you get to that point where there's agents and managers and you have an entourage and people following you around, that's great. But there's still a point that you have to be the propeller. And when you are the engine that's running the train, you're not just the conductor. You are the guy that changes the oil. You're the guy that works in the cafe car. You're the guy that fixes all the gears. You are your own business. And you can get really drawn in to the hullabaloo that accompanies that, you know? And especially in the creative world, you get drawn into the noise of what's happening around you. It's who is what getting and where am I not going and who should I be seen by? And I get really caught up in all the static and the noise of that. And the comparison is the worst because that's just the death of your creativity. But it's kind of par for the course, you know? You can really get lost in that shuffle. But then the pandemic and oh, hey, and I was happy. Was anybody else a little bit happy during the pandemic? Like, we're not supposed to admit that. Look, yeah, I know, yes, massive financial casualties, you know, huge deaths. Yeah. Bad things happen. But there was something about stopping all the noise that was so relieving. And especially in our industry where it's like buzz. And I was really going hard in 2020. I gotta see it. No, I gotta get these jokes have to be better. This thing has to be faster, funnier, louder. Go. And then 2020 hit, and when all the noise stopped, I could take a breath. And thing about revelation make you emotional today, and it really sucks that this one showed up 2 days ago. Revelations are not punctual. They never show up when you want them to show up. They're notorious procrastinators. Revelations are a bitch. And without having to judge myself against anybody else, I stopped judging myself. And I got better. I got better as a comic. I remembered the girl in Kmart. Well, anyway, comics started doing shows again, illegally, in the summer of 2020. We all started showing up in Central Park, which and people started showing up. You know, there was maybe 20% of the people left in New York, but God, they were so happy to be out, man. And I love Central Park. That's the one place you can see people doing meth and Tai Chi. And you can't tell the difference, you know. Like, God, what's that guy doing? Standing crane? No, he's just been trying to pick up that napkin for the last 3 days. And it was so wild. I mean, we were all just screaming in a park, and I'm talking comics of all stripes. So, you know, I'm sharing a park stage with people who have Netflix specials and have been on late night a million times, but all of the agenda ceased to exist. We were out there doing what we did because we just loved to do it. You know, we weren't prepping for anything. There were no late night sets to prep for. There was no Comedy Central specials that you had to prepare. There was just nothing but you talking about the reality of what was happening, laughing about it, pointing and laughing, and we were all processing our emotions together. And it was so freeing because you couldn't ignore what was happening. We all just had to look at it and laugh. And it's so much better to process emotions when you laugh at them. Trust me, I'm going to be laughing at this when I watch this TED Talk later. So we started doing, yes, this was the face of comedy in 2020. This was 1/3 of the face of comedy in 2020. But it was so fun, and I started to look forward to it. I wasn't getting paid for these things, well, some little bit. But it was about being there and talking about it, and because I didn't have to worry about who I was comparing myself to, I could just let go and laugh. And as a result, I just took massive leaps as a comic, and also surviving this was insane. I was screaming in the middle of Sheep Meadow, and I don't know if you guys have ever tried to land a punchline when a twerking contest breaks out 2 inches away from you. But it's not easy, but it was like guerrilla comedy, and I lived for it. We started doing shows on rooftops. Dangerous, very much not to code rooftop. I had to scale the side of a wall to get up to a rooftop like Donkey Kong style. It was insane. The J train was passing by as we were telling our jokes. A wedding broke out on a rooftop right next door. So we're literally yucking it up while they're saying their I do's. Fireworks displays were going off. It was lawless, and it was fun. It was so much fun. We forget to have fun because we're so busy to move ahead. I loved that. Ugh. But here's my favorite, my personal, was that highlight of my career was that I performed in an abandoned Sears. Parking lot. Crowd. And people would show up in their cars, but, they were sitting in their cars. They had to tune their dial to hear you, and we couldn't hear them laugh. So instead of laughing, they would honk. And for those of you who live in New Jersey, that is PTSD. But now when I drive on the New Jersey Turnpike and I cut someone off and they honk at me, I'm like, oh my God, look at them, they're applauding me. Honey, they think I'm funny. It's amazing. So, 2 days ago, as I am going through the TED Talk, and I'm working with my friend Mag, telling her all these wacky things, and I'm making these big grand gestures about how it's everybody out here that's experiencing the joy drought. Oh, they're all going through it. It's all external. And she stops me and she goes, you are talking about your own joy drought. And she was so right. And it was like somebody punched me in the chest. I got lost in the business of the business that I forgot that I'm just a kid in Kmart, walking up to a tiki bar, saying age inappropriate things. But I needed to be reminded that, revelations, I think, don't come from you. It comes from somebody else saying, hey, you did that. This is what you are going through. I called good people at TED, and I'm changing my whole speech. And they were so supportive of it because they said, hey, you can't tell when the moment's going to arrive that you have a revelation. And I thought, God, I should change this talk from joy drought to joy epiphany. But I was like, if I change my PowerPoint presentation one more time, they will never have me back to Asbury Park. So I don't know what the lesson is to be learned in all of this. I feel like everybody leaves a TED Talk saying, this is how you should live your life. All I can say is, I thank you guys for this experience on behalf of me. I'm the one who had the epiphany here tonight, and I hope that helps you. I think there's a lot of people out there who can get lost in the shuffle of their passion and forget why they've taken that route so far off the path. And because I still am a shameless promoter. I want you to find me on Instagram, and I want you to reach out and tell me your story of a moment where you had a personal joy drought, just so I can watch this TED Talk and know that I am not the only one in the world having a meltdown. 2 days before they're supposed to speak in front of thousands of people on the internet. I thank you guys so much for hearing me. Have a great night.